Hello and good morning. We welcome you to our daily news broadcasting from the Greek News Network, also known as GNN. Today we will talk about the concerns of the daily life of our Greeks. We're very lucky to have many famous philosophers, along with the Greek conqueror, being interviewed today. Today we will inform you about the Hellenistic period from 400 BCE to 300 BCE. Enjoy after a short commercial break.
Have you ever had a chronic headache? Hippocrates has created a new medicine. Come buy Litkins at your local pharmacy.
Go. Today we are very lucky to have Socrates. Can everyone please give him a warm welcome?
Thank you. Also, thank you, Megaleo, for having me on your show today.
My pleasure.
So, what are you asking me today? Usually I'm the one asking you questions.
I'll try not to get you too late. So, Socrates, I think everyone wants to know this. Why do you go around asking strangers random questions?
Very good question, actually. Well, ever since after my days of sculpting and fighting in the war, I began to think about the world around me. I thought it would be better to have a lot of people discuss the answers together so that they might come up with more ideas. Then I started asking questions like, what is wisdom, and what is beauty, and what is the right thing to do? I would try to teach people to think better by asking them more questions which showed them the problems in their logic. Often this made people angry. Sometimes they even tried to beat me up.
Wow, that's very violent.
Yeah, the bruises usually only last 3 to 4 days.
That's also very amazing, though, Socrates. Asking the world's questions to figure out the logic of people and society in the world, that takes a lot of courage. So, what happened after you did that? Did you go anywhere or join a group? Tell me.
Yes, actually. I soon had a group of young men who listened to me and learned from me how I think.
Well, that's very impressive. Good for you.
Yeah, at the moment. Then Athenians got mad at me for what I was teaching the young men. They charged me in court with impiety, which is not respecting the gods, and corrupting the youth, which is teaching young men bad things. And all I was trying to do was help the world become a better place and try to solve people's problems.
No way. You're telling me you got charged for not respecting God?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I am against the whole democracy thing. I think the smartest people should make the decisions for me. The Athenians couldn't charge me with being against democracy because I had promised not to revenge on anyone after the Peloponnesian War. So they had to use vague or religious charges instead.
Oh, wow. As much as I would love to hear more about your amazing story, we've gone past time. I wish you the best of luck, Socrates, and hope court isn't too harsh on you.
Thank you, Megaleo. I had a very lovely time on your show today.
So did I, and I think everyone in the crowd did as well.
It's time to send your child to the best school in Greece. Come to the Academy of Athens to enroll all your student in a great law and government program founded by the great philosopher Plato.
Welcome back. Next, we are very fortunate and very lucky to have a student of Socrates, Plato, come in and be interviewed. How exciting it is to have another one of our philosophers to be interviewed. He was born 427 BC and is currently 60, as it is 367 BC.
Hello, good morning to you too. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. We've learned that you wrote some books, but there's one that is specifically famous, by the name of The Republic.
Yes, yeah, The Republic. That was one of my favorites. I wish it was true.
Yes, we have heard it is in Athens Times #1 best-selling books of all time.
So that is true.
What is the book about?
Well, it's a society that we should have today. One in which philosophers like me rule.
What an interesting thought. Why is that so?
We philosophers spend all our days and all our nights continuously thinking about things that interest us and questioning things. Therefore, we obtain the mentality of only one of those smartest people alive. As we Greeks continue to develop as a society as a whole, we do not understand the way of a government is made. The only people who could possibly transcribe this would be the smartest. And as I said before, we, the philosophers, are the smartest.
Wow, it looks like have put some thought into those words.
Only about 13 days or so,
Wow, that's a very long time.
not compared to how much the average human lives for.
Nice to know. I've also heard that from the book you talk strongly against the society in which democracy stands.
Yes, indeed. This is only because if we let the citizens vote, they may make the uneducated and unthoughtful response. This goes against what Athens stands for. They made a democracy to make sure all the people would have a good vote. But if citizens make a wrong decision, the whole point of the democracy will be ruined.
What an interesting thought. Now we'll ask some questions that the citizens will hear. We've heard about your great accomplishments by founding a school. Tell me more about it.
Well, I have founded the Academy of Athens, one of the first institutions for higher learning in the Western world. I hope that people get a good education in life. I wish that people would only work for the things that they're good at and that they enjoy. I believe that there should only be 3 classes of workers, which don't depend on money, but depend on how hardworking they are and or become. I believe that the class of workers should be the workers, the soldiers, and then the ruling philosophers.
Thank you for clarifying on the very broad topic of the dream society that you are so famous for.
I also believe that women, men, nobles, and the poor should be allowed to do the same things and have exactly the same rights as everyone else in education and everything else.
Oh really? I would like that very much. That actually makes sense.
Yes, I know. That's why I want it so badly.
I hope that your dream comes true. Well, it looks like we have just run out of time. I hope that your memory lives on forever, as do the many Roman mosaics showing you with your many Greek students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I must go as well. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Good luck with my student Aristotle. He's a clever one.
Thank you again, and goodbye. Now for a short commercial break.
If you've ever been late to a lecture, try using an alarm clock. The alarm clock invented right here in Greece will make loud sounds at the exact time you need it. It has even been used by the very famous Plato.
Next on GNN, let's take a trip to Macedonia and interview Philip, the leader of one of the strongest armies in history who conquered the many Greek city-states. Let's interview Philip on the surface.
Hello, everyone. I hope I've made a stunning entrance.
Oh yes, Philip, you have. It's nice to be interviewing you right now. So, Philip, how was it to strengthen the Macedonian army? It must have been pretty difficult.
Yes, it certainly was. But after a little negotiating with them, I motivated them to conquer the city-states and claim the victories across the land.
I see. How did it feel to learn about the Greek culture?
It was pretty fascinating with their culture. The attention to detail, the very organized systems, it looked pretty nice.
I can see why you think so.
So, it must be peaceful where you live, unlike the Greeks there right now.
It certainly is. Speaking of which, how anxious were you when you fight in wars?
Oh, a lot. It's even considered lucky if you still end up standing.
Those warriors must be pretty brave if they can risk their lives to go through all that, you know?
Yeah, agreed. Our bravest soldiers are definitely some of the best in our whole army.
And my last question, how was your son, Alexander the Great?
Wait.
Did somebody call for me?
Wow, it's Alexander. Pinch me. I must be dreaming.
Well, I'm here to say that you're not dreaming, and you're here to interview me.
Yes. So, Alexander, how was your childhood like with a very powerful ruler as your father?
I was raised to be tough and strong. I had to defeat a boar and kill a man in combat when I was at the age of 14 to prove I was a man.
Were you taught differently than other children at your age, or was your education the same as everyone else?
I was very privileged. I was taught by Aristotle, one of the finest philosophers there was.
What were you taught by?
He taught me regular things like science, speaking, and philosophy.
While you were in your young years, did you have a best friend?
Yes, I did. His name was Cephalus. He was a horse that was said to be unrideable because of the white mark on his head. His name meant ox head. And when I saw him, I needed to have him. I patted his fur, hopped on him, then rode across the field, and the unrideable horse became my best.
We know you now are a very skilled fighter in shadows, but what were your best skills as a child?
As a child, I was a fine hunter and horseman. It was one of my best skills, and I spent much of my time hunting.
Were you away at all when your father went to war, and if so, did you play a role in the military?
When my father was conquering Greece, I left the cavalry. Before I was king, I defeated Thracia and Magnetic Greek communities on the borders of Macedonia.
What happened when your father was murdered?
I was very upset, but I had to take action and become king. He was murdered at my sister Cleopatra's wedding. He had died before he planned to invade and conquer Persia.
I would assume then that was your lifelong goal.
Actually, yes and no. My lifelong goal was to unite all of our world and give it all the gifts of Greece I grew up loving. My goal required conquering Persia to gain a common enemy with Greece. Of course, I have successfully done this already.
That's very interesting.
Yes, I have reached my goal and spread the gifts of Greece all around.
When you were conquering Persia, how were the little villages and small cities reacting to your conquest?
Most of them were happy to be freed from Persia after being captured by them, but a few did not get it.
How did your army do with that? Were they easily put down?
Most of them were easily be stopped off for their rebellions, but some were more difficult. There was one called Tyre, which refused to be conquered. Every time our army invaded, they stopped us. Eventually, we captured their rulers, then rode all around the walls on the front of our chariots until they died. In another place, we had to hang their residents when they refused to join us. It was their fate, and our army had to gain control.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander, for this interview.
Yes, it was my pleasure. I love sharing our culture and how it was created the way it is today, as well as the mixing of our cultures.
Thank you. Goodbye. Next, we will be interviewing. Next on GNN, we'll be interviewing Aristotle. So, Aristotle, tell us a little bit about your early life.
I lived in Stagra, which is located in northern Greece. My father, Nicomachus, was a very successful doctor. My mother, Phaestus, was very wealthy and owned a large house in Euboea, an island south of Greece which stayed in the family even after she married Nicomachus.
Any siblings?
Yes, I have a brother and a sister.
So, Aristotle, have you always lived in Stagira?
No, at the age of 17, I moved to Athens.
That's a big change. Athens is a beautiful city. On another note, what do you do for a living?
I'm a philosopher, scientist, and teacher.
Can you tell us a little about your philosophy?
I started my studies with Plato. He considered me his most brilliant student. After years of studies in government, arithmetic, science, and literature, I decided to focus a lot on government. I actually wrote a book called Politics, where I pointed out advantages and disadvantages of government.
Since you've studied all these types of governments, which one do you think is ideal?
I believe the most stable society is one in which the actions and authority of one part of the government are checked and balanced by another.
Can you give an example?
It's as if actions of a strong king were reviewed by a democratically elected assembly. Then the people would also have a say in the decisions.
Interesting. Now on to our next question. What scientific research do you do?
I study biology, physics, and botany. I'm also one of the few scientists that believe the Earth is round.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Can you tell me about the biology you're studying?
I've developed a system I use to classify animals into genera with some characteristics. I based it on whether they have red blood or not. The animals that have red blood were considered as vertebrates, while the animals without red blood are considered cephalopods.
Wow, you must have used a lot of this information from your teacher. Can you tell us a little about that?
When Philip of Macedonia's son, Alexander, turned 13, he asked me to teach him.
What were some of the things you taught him?
I taught him about plants and animals and introduced him to the writing of the Greek poet Homer.
Was Alexander your only student?
I have many students. I'm the head of my own school called the Lyceum in Athens.
Now let's talk about what happened after all this. Why did you leave Athens?
After Alexander died, the Athenians were very angry for being conquered. They decided to drive out anyone that had a connection to Alexander.
So you were worried you would get driven out. Where did you go?
Yes, my connection to Alexander concerned me. I fled to a small island in the Aegean Sea.
Thanks for all the information, Aristotle. Next here is the talk. Welcome to today's interview with GNN. We're here in the Hellenistic Period of 313 BC. It's been almost 10 years since Alexander the Great died, and now under his empire, many places seem to be accepting the church cultures. Let's take a listen.
Hello everybody, I'm Nehe Dean, and part of the Hellenistic period, and in my humble opinion, and it's the most important period of all time.
Wow, Nate, that's quite a statement. Why do you think so?
Well, there are so many reasons that it would take me days to share them all, but I'll try and highlight a few of the most important ones. First, during the Hellenistic period, Eastern and Western cultures mixed. Eastern and Western doesn't really mean East-Western cultures. Western cultures were outside of Greece. Eastern cultures were places like Africa and Asia. This mixing had led to much more richness and diversity.
Amazing. Please tell me and our viewers more.
The Hellenistic period is also known as the first great age of science. Did you know that our very own Archimedes invented the lever and pulley?
Yes, I heard about that. I was at a dinner party in this work. Archimedes was a guest of honor who said, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the world."
Yeah, I see he is a bit of a bragger, but with the lever and pulley, we can now construct buildings, statues, and libraries better, faster, and easier than we could before. It is really the greatest inventions of all time, and I'll bet they will be around for years and years to come.
What else, Nathan?
Well, we also have so many great scholars. Ptolemy is developing all sorts of astronomy theories. Euclid is a geometry whiz kid, and Eratosthenes just figured out the size of the Earth's circumference. No other period has had such many incredible accomplishments.
It's no wonder. We have so many libraries that our scholars keep.
And we also have some of the greatest artists of all time. Have you heard of Alexander and MJ Lunch?
No, who is he?
Alexander sculpted the Venus de Milo, courtesy of the goddess of love. If you haven't seen the statue, you should really go and see it. It's definitely worth the trip, and you will be in total awe of this. And there's also the statue of love and as the figures are actually life-size, and this C-17 statue is so real that you will lose your mind to see it here. 3 artists from the island of Rhodes sculpted their head. They're so talented. Speaking of the island of Rhodes, there's also a statue of Apollo that is 105 feet tall. It serves as a beacon for getting ships safely into the harbor. Now, really, what other period can boast about having a piece of art that is not only beautiful, but also so
Thanks, Nathan. I can see why you are so proud of the Hellenisitic period. Is there anything else you want to say before we close today's program?
I just want to send out a shout to Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Philip, and Alexander the Great hate. The Hellenistic period wouldn't be what it is today without you guys. Thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you to all of our wonderful guests. Remember, make sure you tune tomorrow for more news from GNN. This is Megaleo signing